Welcome, welcome everybody. Greg Peterson coming to you from Urban Farm U and the Urban Farm Fruit Tree Program. I hope you're having a great day. And Miss Janice will be with us in a little while. We had a little bit of a tech issue that we're working on. Tonight we are talking planting, watering, and fertilizing. Extreme tree care for your fruit trees. And you can see our entire program at fruittrees.org. These two pictures you're seeing, this was my apple hedge that I planted in 2004, and that was probably a 2005 picture, so it was within the first year of them getting planted. And my apple hedge, like 6 or 7 years later, is on the right. And it shows you how full it got. And interestingly enough, my yard is behind that fence, and I actually convinced the neighbor to let me put the fruit trees, the apple trees, on his property, and so I manage them. Uh, yeah, so that's one way you can plant fruit trees in hedgerows like that. It works really well. All right. Okay, getting your trees planted. Um, we're going to have you pre-dig your holes, and we want you to pre-dig them as square. You're going to see a great picture on the next slide. Um, you're going to see a great picture on the next slide of a square hole. It's going to be a minimum of 2 feet wide by 2 feet wide and a foot deep. And that loosens up the soil. And the reason that we go with the square hole is to make sure that your trees, and I've seen this happen before, the tree can actually get root bound in a round hole. So if you're going to dig your hole square, and that's going to help it not get root bound. All right, next step, important thing to do is what we call a perk test or a percolation test. This is going to be a test where you fill the hole with water and see how long it takes to drain. Most of the time it'll drain within 30 minutes to 4 hours. If you have a hole that you've dug and filled and it's 36, 48 hours later and it's still full, you have to do some more digging. That's a caliche hole. And you'll need to dig it deeper and wider. It doesn't, quite honestly though, it doesn't happen that often in the low desert in Phoenix, although it can happen. And if you do get that, um, Janice has got a series of videos, no, a series of articles on our blog on how to manage for it. So if you run into that, oh, and it's also in Root Camp. The blog articles are in Root Camp. And so if you get a perk test, that soil that doesn't perk, then you will need to check out those articles. All right, there it is from Sam B. He sent me a picture of it, and it's like, oh, that's beautiful. So that's perfect. This is when you're planting the tree in a basin. So he dug out the basin 6 inches down, 6 foot diameter, square hole in the middle. He'll plant the tree in the middle. Uh, Okay, I've got another slide that I'm going to show you on the depth of planting, but you'll plant the tree in the middle on a mound. So you're going to put the tree on a mound in the middle of that basin. I've got more on that here in a few slides. Now, the importance of creating healthy soil. Your job as an urban orchardist and an organic farmer is to build healthy soil. I have said recently that I will spend $30 on a raised bed and 300 to put the soil in it. 300 metaphorically, hope you don't have to spend that much on it. But good healthy soil in your raised beds, in your gardens, and in your fruit tree holes is going to make all the difference in the world. So there's 5 components of healthy soil: dirt, which you have plenty; organic matter, water, airspace, and everything that is alive in the soil. The cool thing is, the way to fix it is add lots and lots and lots of organic matter. And so when you're planting your fruit trees, how we suggest that you plant your fruit trees: you dig your square hole, you take 40% of the native soil that's in the hole, put it in the wheelbarrow. You add 60% Farmer Greg's planting mix or something similar. It's a nice, fluffy soil additive. It's got cocoa peat and composted pine bark and all kinds of great stuff in it. And you're going to mix that in the wheelbarrow. And then you're going to mix 2 ounces of mycorrhiza, 2 pounds of azomite, 2 pounds of worm castings. Now, remember, we said organic matter, healthy soil is organic matter, add lots of it, and soil life. So the mycorrhiza and the worm castings both are soil life. They have good microbial stuff in it. And then azomite is a vitamin pill for your tree. And we have our Urban Farm tree planting kit. You can get them when you pick up your trees, or you can pre-order them. And then you're going to add that into the wheelbarrow and 2 pounds of organic fertilizer. And I'm going to talk organic fertilizer here in a little while. Are you back yet, Janice? So this is how,
Almost.
all right, cool, thanks. This is how you plant, this is what goes in the planting hole when you're planting your tree. So you're going to pre-dig your holes. You're going to make them square. You're going to do a perk test, and then you're going to get all of this stuff in order to healthfully plant the tree. And you want to do this, especially now. On any given year, we get about a dozen people that lose fruit trees from our program. They follow up with us. We have a guarantee on our trees. This year, we had more like 25 or 30 people that reached out to us that had trees that died. And it's because of the nutrition. We have found over and over and over again, if you put your basin around the tree, we're going to talk about that in a little while, and add all this nutrition, the trees do a lot better. Oh, you got to talk about this one, Janice, the secret planting sauce.
Oh, I love our secret planting sauce. Okay, so while I'm dealing with a smite technology issue over here that got even worse with the new update, I'm going to change my brain over here to talk about why we have endorsed this so well. There are 4 liquids that were brought to us by some local scientists in the valley here who have had an affinity for plants. And they used their chemistry know-how, and they developed a series of processes that got us some really fabulous liquid amendments. What we love to recommend is, besides using these plants for foliar, and these liquids for foliar feeding, which is spraying straight on the plants, we also recommend using it for drenching, which is playing it in the basin of an already planted tree. But if you're going to go back a step, you can actually use it during the planting process itself to inoculate the soil with this boost of a zone of growth. So basically what happens is you put a little bit of each one of these, and you're going to use 3 caps of all 4 of the liquids in 1 gallon of water. And you're going to apply this to the outside of that square hole and just soak that ground a little bit. Just get it nice and damp, so that what happens is it starts to create the microbe life zone right there at the edge of the hole. And while you're bare root tree is sitting to the side, put it in a bucket or a basin or a wheelbarrow with that water. And you can, or for potted trees, this is 1 gallon. If for bare roots, it's 5 gallons of water. And you're going to be allowing the roots to sit in this bath for the roots. And the roots themselves that might be a little bit dry, they'll be soaking in all this beautiful water that is tinged with these nutrients. And then what happens is, now that you have these nice, well-hydrated roots and you put them in the soil, it's going to massively reduce transplant shock. Because what happens when you put a potted plant or a bare root plant into a new zone, it gets shock. But part of it is touching new dry soil. The moisture is drawn away from the roots, and we're going to stop that right now with the secret sauce. On our website, you can type in secret sauce in the search on our store, and it will take you right to the High Creations combo. And on that zone, anytime that you want to look at it, it says an application, it'll tell you exactly what you can do for the secret sauce for either potted or bare root. They're slightly different, but it works for both these, all 4 of these elements.
Awesome. 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 Thank you, Miss Janis.
Thank you. I'm here still. I'm just trying to get my technology going on the other side.
Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. Oh, there's more information on it. This is for the root soak on the bare root trees in 5 gallons of water. I didn't realize we had a second slide on that one. All right. Then every basin, every tree needs it needs to have my 6-6 rule applied. That's 6 inches of woody mulch by a 6-foot diameter basin. This is the first way. I'm going to talk about shading your trees here in a little while. This is the first way that we shade your tree. We shade the soil underneath it. And this woody mulch, the 6 inches of woody mulch, and I truly mean 6 inches or 8 inches or 10 inches. If you put an inch of woody mulch, it's just not enough. So minimum of 6 inches of woody mulch. And at the interface between the dirt and the woody mulch, it starts breaking down into this really amazing soil. And I found with multiple trees at the urban farm that the feeder roots love to come up into that area and feed. So this picture here is more like an 8-foot diameter basin. This is a Bonanza dwarf peach in the middle, and the rootstock that's gone wild on grown up about 8 feet on the right side. I told him to cut that off because that was the rootstock that would outgrow the tree. But this tree was planted in January and this picture was taken in June. So this is how well following our rules that the trees are going to do. All right. And I get this question a lot. How do I kill the mushrooms in my yard? If you have mushrooms, fungi, mycorrhiza, stuff like that growing in your soil, you're doing something right. This was a handful of soil from the urban farm, actually a handful of mulch from the urban farm. And that white stuff, that's the good stuff. And what I'm really encouraging you with this 6-foot diameter basin around the trees is growing the soil like it grows in the forest. It's so, so important. I can't even emphasize that enough. All right, planting to the correct depth. This is super important. I had an email this week from somebody who had a tree planted too deep and the tree was suffering. If you plant this graft union, if that goes underground, the tree will die. So it's really simple on potted trees, both our citrus in the fall and our potted deciduous, planted at the same depth that it was planted in the pot. Super simple. For the bare root, and this is what a bare root fruit tree looks like when you pick it up. It's probably a little taller and got a few more branches. It's not probably, it's little taller and got a few more branches on it, but this is what it's going to look like. And what you're going to do is there's a demarcation point on the branch. You can see where the red arrow is pointing, where it goes from one color to another color. You're going to plant it to that depth. That is so important. And it's going to look like this. So we have if you're planting above grade and building a basin above ground, you're going to put the tree up, make sure that the graft union is above the ground and plant this way. Or if you're going to dig a basin like that picture you saw a little while ago, you're going to dig it down a little bit. And I want you to take note, both of them have soil piled up against the trunk, and the woody mulch is not against the trunk. That's really important as well. All right, remember, if you got questions, throw them in the Q&A and we'll get them answered here in a little while. Here is a nicely planted citrus tree. It's the one on the right is a blown up version of this. You'll notice this is dirt. So it's dirt right here. And we got our 6-foot diameter basin of woody mulch right like that. And the woody mulch is the first step in shading the soil. You're going to see at least 4 more ways to shade your tree here in a little while. I guess we're going to do it right now. So
You're funny that way.
I know. Well, I don't know what slide's coming up next. I know how I can talk about it, but so shade your tree and soil in this order. 6 inches of woody mulch. Number 1, absolutely most important. Number 2, plant a ground cover. Plant sweet potatoes. Plant cowpeas. Janice, you have a desert flower that you use around the base of them. What are those?
Well, I planted wildflowers around my basins as just kind of a fun space after I had done my sweet potatoes. And the Mexican primrose took off like crazy. I would hesitate to anybody who's got a sensitive skin to not use them. They might be a little bit irritating to your skin, but if you don't have sensitivities, they are beautiful and prolific.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. All right. So the mulch is going to create a sponge layer. It's going to make healthy soil. It's going to hold on to water. It's going to keep your soil down 6-8 inches cooler. The planting, the ground cover, is going to reduce the soil temperature by 40 to 60 degrees in the summertime. This is huge. This could be the reason people's trees are dying.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So then number 3, for shading your tree, you're going to wrap or treat the trunk. Wrap the trunk with tree wrap or treat it with biodynamic tree paste. That's what we suggest. And then you're going to plant shade, or you're going to plant your trees to the east of any shade trees that you have in your yard, so that they're getting afternoon shade. Or you're going to put up a shade structure. What I have found is, if you're not in a really hot microclimate, a hot microclimate means concrete block walls, gravel. If you're in a grass area, number 1, 2, and 3 is going to be plenty. If you're in a hot space with concrete, gravel, that kind of stuff, you're probably going to have to put up shade the first year or 2. But most of the time, and you can always send me a picture to greg@urbanfarm.org. If you have a question about where you're planting your trees, snap a picture and send me the photograph. I'm
And
more
please,
than I'm more than happy to give you coaching. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Janice.
and please be careful how much shade you put up. Some people think that putting shade up means like 60, 70% shade. If you're doing that, you are robbing the tree of the very important sunlight that it needs to grow. So you're only putting shade up for a partial time. Dappled shade is great. You can put a good shade up if you've got a super hot place, but it's really kind of dependent on what kind of environment you have. So
Yeah.
that microclimate
Mm,
can change how much shade you need.
yeah. And like I said, send me a picture. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. I see some questions coming in. Great. Keep them in.
Yep.
We'll
Yay,
address them
yay,
at the
yay.
end.
All right. Watering methodology. This freaks people out, my watering methodology. And it goes like this. And it works really well. And I didn't make this up. I discovered it because I planted my first fruit trees in 1975 in Phoenix in the desert. And we had flood irrigation back then. And we got water from flood irrigation once a month in the winter and twice a month in the summer. And the trees thrived. So I took a clue from that. So here is my watering methodology. Plant your citrus in September, October. Plant your deciduous in January. When it's hot outside, you want to water twice a month. When it's not hot outside, so November, December, January, February, you want to water once a month. And then about April 15th-ish, when the summer's starting, it's starting to get hot, you're going to start watering them every 10 days to 2 weeks. The reason that this is important is because more often than not, people email me with pictures of their fruit trees, and their fruit trees are suffering and everything looks okay. And I say, how much do you water? And they said, well, we water it every 3 days, or we water it 40 minutes a day. That is way too much water. These tree roots have to dry out in between.
You're
And the
basically
problem,
over loving them.
exactly. And the problem with overwatering damage, it looks like underwatering damage. So it looks the same. And what happens is, I've seen it over and over and over again over the years. The tree starts drooping, and Susie tree person waters the tree, and it droops some more, and she waters the tree, and it droops some more, and she waters the tree. And before long, the tree is dead.
And we recognize that this is an attempt of love,
Yep.
but too much love is literally drowning the tree.
Yeah. So you're going to water them every 10 days to 2 weeks once it gets hot. You're going to get yourself a moisture meter for sure. Soil probes are good too, but a moisture meter for sure. It's a $10 item. And you're going to see, you're going to poke it in the soil around the base of the tree and see if the tree basin needs water.
And this just means put it in the soil, get a reading, and then you pull it back out and you can go try somewhere else and get another reading. You're
Yeah.
not leaving it in the soil. You're just getting an instant reading on it.
Yep. Now, here's the huge caveat. Once it gets really hot, starting in, June, watch your trees. Pay attention to the trees. If you're watering them every 15 days and on day 10 they start drooping a little, they need water. And here's the thing, using this watering methodology, using my planting methodology, using our fertilizing methodology, what I have found is that they may droop a little bit the first year, but if you have your basin in place, if you have your green mulch growing over the top of it, once a month in the winter and twice a month in the summer is enough water for the trees.
And the nice thing about the way that we teach you is one, we're always here or we have something available for you always, but it's something that you can get better at every year and better
Mhm.
at every year. And we are trying to make sure that you have what you need so that you don't need us the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You just want to come by and share your good fortune on your plants.
Amen to that. All right, cool. And there is in Root Camp, there is a full uh, document on my watering methodology, 2 pages.
Hmm.
All right, here is a moisture meter. So, how much do you water? We can't tell you how much to water. You have to figure out because you could have sandy soil, you could have clay soil, there could be a lot of mulch in it, so on and so on and so on. You have to figure that out yourself. Um,
We'll help you.
Well, absolutely help. You can send us pictures. The easy thing to do is fill up the basin. So we've already created our 6 foot diameter basin. Stick the hose in there and run the hose in there for a couple of hours. Fill up the basin really good, maybe an hour, um, and let it soak in. If you have really clay-like soil, this is a Janisism. Thank you, Janice. If you have really clayey soil, fill up that basin, let it sink in. Fill up the basin again on day 2 and let it sink in, and then wait 15 days. That way you're getting the water down into the clay soil.
And I can speak from experience, this has a fabulous effect when you have clay soil, because that way you're allowing, and what happens is when you do that way, the water goes through clay soil so slowly that if you're only filling up the basin once on clay soil day, you're not getting enough. And what happens is a few days later, your tree's starting to look like it's not doing so well, and you're doing it again, but the dry out process is interrupted.
Yeah.
Because the clay soil goes slowly, you take a 2-day process to fill your basin and let the water go in, and you have happy soil and happy roots for 15 days or so.
Yeah. If you have really clay-like soil, you can get a soil probe. We sell them. And basically what a soil probe is, it's a long metal pole, 3 foot long metal pole, and it will go down, it'll probe into the dirt around your basin, and it will go down as far as the soil is soaked,
Wet.
is
Yeah.
wet.
Because
So,
this dry soil doesn't move and wet soil will move so that the probe can go through it.
yeah. All right. Fertilizing, minimum 4 times a year. But if you're only fertilizing granular fertilizer, it's probably not enough. But granular fertilizer, we have Bioflora and Tank Super Mix, is on Valentine's Day, Tax Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day. Um, and you're going to use 1 pound or 2.5 cups per inch diameter trunk. This is what it looks like. Using 1 pound or 2.5 cups per inch diameter of trunk, the math goes like this. This is a 4 inch, this is the apricot tree in the front yard of the urban farm in Phoenix. Still alive. I just got pictures of it recently. It's a 4 inch trunk. So 4 inch trunk times 2.5 cups, that's 10 cups. Or if you're going by the pounds, that's 4 inch trunk and by 1 pound, so 4 pounds. So this tree would get 4 pounds of fertilizer on Valentine's Day, 4 pounds on tax day, 4 pounds on Memorial Day, and 4 pounds on Labor Day. And that's going to be getting it enough fertilizer for the tree of the granular. And we have Bioflora, and we always bring in plenty of Bioflora Super Mix. If you're not buying one of these two, absolutely you should only be using organic fertilizer. The thing about the Bioflora, if you're in the Phoenix area, buy the Bioflora. You can use it in your gardens. It's organic. You can use it on your fruit trees. It's organic. Did I say, Janice, it's organic?
Once, yeah.
The thing is, it's a 50-pound bag and we sell it for $60. That is a screaming deal for organic fertilizer. If you
We
go,
only sell it for local pickup, unfortunately.
that is
So
correct.
if you are outside of the area or outside of the country, find a local organic fertilizer if you can.
Yeah. So and we've been selling this now for 20 years. It's locally made in with the West Valley, and like I said, it's organic, and um, that is a great price for organic
Hey,
fertilizer, and
Greg,
it's organic.
it's organic.
Don't panic. You can find it at store.urbanfarm.org. All right, so this is the shovel wedge technique. If you have dogs, your dogs are going to love this fertilizer. They're going to roll in it. They're going to probably try and eat it.
I love how much you make a point of this because you didn't until you got Kismet trying to get
Yep,
your fertilizer.
yep, exactly. And so and this also gets it down past the woody mulch. So that's the other thing. So what you do is you take a long skinny fertilizer, listen to me, a long skinny shovel. Sharpshooters are the best, but an 8 or 10 or 12-inch shovel's fine. Push it in the ground as far as it'll go. Rock it back and forth to create a wedge. Pour the fertilizer in the wedge and then cover it back up. And I would do this on a canopy of a tree in 4 to 6 places, so that 4 pounds of fertilizer would go into 4 to 6 places or in the basin around the tree, and then gets covered
And
up, and then you're going to water. Yes, Janice?
and honestly, the first 1 or 2 holes that you make, you'll go, am I doing this right? And then by the time you go to the third, you're like, oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
This is not that hard. Ba-boom.
There you go. All right. And then there's foliar feeding.
Love
Our
it.
high creation, well, in Root Camp, there's a nutrition schedule that Janice made up. Thank you, Janice.
Oh, thank you.
And it tells you every month what to do. Foliar feeding is spraying these on directly on the plant. I know that that's a tomato we're spraying on right there, but that gives you an idea. Then there's drench feeding, and we have a whole program of the secret sauce, drench feeding, and foliar feeding that goes along with the granular fertilizer. And the guys over at High Creations, they're scientists, and they've figured out how to make these products have the trees survive and thrive through the summer.
Yeah, and we promote this product because we used it first.
Hmm.
Actually, it was quite funny. Greg didn't even want to try it. It was too busy. But then when he started trying it, he was like, okay, this is good stuff.
Actually,
So
I'm gonna correct you here. Um, you started using it, and you and Ray realized how good a stuff it was, and you had to smack me on the head and say, "Greg, look at this."
well, you are getting such good results with bioflora, and you were
Right?
absolutely not wanting to try, and you weren't in it to create new products in the store. You just wanted to sell what we knew.
Yeah.
But when we started this, we realized how much of a difference it was making. And then you tried it and you were like, yep, this is good. We
Oh
can use
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Now, because we're such because we are so strong supporters of what this product is, we brought it into the store. We are also offering something called the buy 3 get 1 free on a few of our different elements in our store. We do it for this one, wherein
Yes.
you buy the 3 products, Essence, Soul, and Noble Gills, and we'll give you Heart for free. So that's the 4 products. Now, we do ship the 1 quart bottles, so we can ship those pretty much anywhere. International is a little tricky, but we can do it anywhere in the States. And if you're local, these are these are concentrates, but they're really good. And if you have a lot of trees, they can go kind of quickly. We've got an even better screaming deal in 5-gallon jugs that we don't ship.
Yeah.
But we do have 5-gallon jugs for local pickup. especially for the heart and the essence that, or I'm sorry, the heart and the soul that seem to go a little bit faster than the others.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. And thanks to our buddy Glenn, we've put together what we call our mod kits. That's the green handle and the little white nipple plug at the end. And this makes such a difference. You go get a $7 or $10 or $12 pump sprayer. You take the sprayer off of the end and you put this in place, and it makes foliar feeding so much faster. So we have these available in the store. I think they're what, $9 or $8, something like that, Janice.
Yeah.
All right, and there's the combo again. This is for drenching, foliar feeding, and planting with the secret sauces.
You just go to urbanfarm.org/store and you're in the right space for us.
Cool. This is what the nutrition schedule looks like. We have laminated ones available if you wanted to purchase a laminated one, but we do give them away free in Root Camp. So if you go to urbanfarm.org/root camp, that's our master course. There's over 70 lessons in there on growing fruit trees, really growing fruit trees anywhere. It was primarily done for growing fruit trees in the desert, but I've found since I moved to North Carolina that these things, they work here.
Yeah.
So there's your nutrition schedule. It's available in Root Camp.
The
And
PDF is available for free download.
yes, exactly. All right, and then plant cowpeas. We give cowpeas away every January. This is a nitrogen fixing pea or bean, call it what you will. They grow really well in the desert. They love the heat, and we have them available for you. You can also use sweet potatoes. Just go to your grocery store and get an organic sweet potato. This will, like I said earlier, keep the soil 40 to 60 degrees cooler. We proved it with this picture on that day. This was in 2017 in August in my front yard. Those were the numbers. All right. And couple other things, and then we'll take questions. If you need some help, I do garden planning sessions that are available. You can go to our store, and Janice will put it in the chat. You can go ahead and drop them in the chat, Janice. And I do garden consults. They cost $120. Money back guarantee. I promise you, you're going to save more money from mistakes that you could make. I had a lady a few years ago buy a consult with me, and she said, "Oh man, I'm so bummed." She told me this after the consult. "I'm so bummed. I would have saved blowing $1,000 on fruit trees that died if we'd have talked." So those are available. We have our citrus program. We passed our citrus program for 2024. It happens in usually late September, early October. And we run our fruit tree program like a pop-up nursery, like a Christmas tree lot for fruit trees. We're only open for 6 days for citrus and usually about 10 to 12 days for deciduous in January. We do education all year round. Our smaller items are available. We have 2 pickup locations, one in Mesa and one in Glendale. And we also do, usually in the spring, we do 1 or 2 pop-up nurseries for supplies in March, April, and May. So that's how our program works. This is the sizes of citrus trees that we usually bring in. And then we have our deciduous program that's been live since 1999. So the deciduous program is 25 years old. The citrus program is 20 years old. And the thing about our programs is that we only bring in trees that will work. The reason I started doing this over 2 decades ago is because I found out you could go to most nurseries and every big box store, and they would sell you a fruit tree that would never make fruit. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just bogus. So our trees are climate appropriate and season appropriate. If you want to buy other trees and experiment, that is fine. It's okay to experiment. But know if you're getting trees from us and do what we tell you to do, in 3 years, you're going to get fruit. Now, there is one caveat. We do bring in some experimental trees and plants every year because people are so curious about blueberries. Some people have great luck with blueberries in the desert, other people don't. So we do bring in blueberries. The Illinois everbearing mulberry, I think, is also still
Yes.
an experimental.
Yeah, but mine's doing great.
Nice, gotta love it. All right, your next steps. Take our other classes. We have one next week, which is what supplies do you need for planting your fruit trees? That'll be Janice and Ray giving that class. You can sign up for our Root Camp Master Course at urbanfarm.org/root camp. You can place your pre-order at store.urbanfarm.org. And we have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale going on this week, Janice.
I know. This is the
You want
first
to,
time we've ever tried it.
yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute. And you can learn all about our program at fruittrees.org. Store.urbanfarm.org is our store. And
Urbanfarm.org/store.
oh, does that one work too?
Urbanfarm.org/consults/rootcamp/store. Tell us
Gotta
what you
love it.
PDC, what you need, what you got.
Nice. Nice, nice. And this is our goal. All right, you want to unmute your video, Miss Janice? And
Hello.
let's take questions.
All right.
Oh, what did I say we were gonna talk about?
You
Root
mean
camp.
you
Hold
mean
on
talking
here.
about the Black Friday special?
Yes. So we've put together a Black Friday special this year. We're really excited about it, and they'd make a great gift. What we're doing is if you buy 3 deciduous trees, we're going to give you 2 grapes or berries. So
So what you do is go on our homepage, urbanfarm.org/store, and in the banner there, it'll give you option for the Black Friday special, and you can click on that, buy 3 trees, get 2 free plants. The options are just a click and drop, and we can mix and match to make it fit.
yeah, and I'll be putting an email out about that in the morning.
You guys got the first one. It's
All
like the
right.
almost Black Friday sale.
Catherine wants to know how far apart on your hedge. Great question, Catherine. Hedges do best, and I've experimented. I've put hedges 2 feet apart, 3 feet apart, 4 feet apart, 5 feet apart, and 6 feet apart. I've tried all of them over the past 2 decades. And I have found that 5 feet apart on the hedge seems to be a magic number. If you want to be able to walk between the trees, they need to be 10 feet apart. But if you want a hedge, 5 foot from trunk to trunk is really good.
Roger
Roger,
says, should you still score the sides of the hole?
yes, absolutely.
What he's talking about is when you dig your hole, trying to make sure that the inside of the hole is not smooth. And I'll tell you from experience, when I bought my house, the guys that put the first trees in there, they used the auger. The auger went down, made a nice, beautiful hole. They put the tree in it, but it was so smooth that that's the only place the roots stayed. They stayed right where that auger dug the hole. Didn't get much further than that.
Yeah. Cool.
Janet says, so
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago, when you mentioned we could plant citrus through that weekend because of the hot autumn in Phoenix, I was so excited that I could still plant a tree. Dug the 2 by 2 by 1 square hole. In doing so, I came across old mulberry tree roots that were kind of suspended like a pipe. They were
Yep.
rock solid and about 4 inches to 5 inches across.
Wow.
Should I have gone and borrowed an axe and chopped those out? There are 2 of them near the side of my square hole and a PVC pipe and a conduit one. I'm unsure.
There are 2 of them near the sides of my square hole and a PVC pipe and conduit.
So
Ah,
don't mess with the PVC and the conduit because
right.
that's water and electrical.
Yeah, and the roots aren't going to hurt the PVC and um,
But if you have a 4 inch or 5 inch root, is the mulberry still alive?
and is it close?
Yeah,
Um,
there's some more questions we have here. This is kind of
yeah,
interesting.
drop 'em in there. You're gonna always send me a picture, Janet.
Yeah. So what we need to know is how close the mulberry is. Is it still alive? And what else did you ask? I don't know. Just send us that and we can work with that.
Yeah, you can either tell us tonight or send us an email.
The secret ground cover Mexican flower is Mexican primrose. I'm going to actually see if I can't switch my
Photograph.
photograph here.
Yeah.
Choose my ones.
Deep watering, Bruce. Good question. Deep watering is getting water down to underneath the root zone. So it could be a foot to 18 inches on a new tree. It could be 3 to 4 feet on a mature tree. So getting water down that far is important. I have found I watch the trees and give them a good deep water. I've found that works for me. There is a soil probe. A soil probe is 3 feet long, and you could push it down that far. But that's deep watering. I hope that answered your question. Are you still looking for that picture, Miss Janice?
I don't have one of my own, but I do have one that I could share.
Hey,
Now, it's called the Mexican primrose. It's also called a pink lady. Um, uh, Here is a link. If you look up, there's a lot of links. Growing evening primrose is another way, but they're great They're great flowers. Easy to grow.
Roger says the moisture meter only checks the top few inches. Well, down about
Yes,
8 inches of soil. Um,
correct. And then there's a reason for that.
mhm.
Roger, what you're looking for is a chance for the water to go down through the soil. And when the top few inches of soil have gotten to the point that they are nice and dry, because you're on a moisture meter, the wet to dry zone is in a gauge, and you're going to wait to just above the dry zone before you water the soil again, because what's happening below that is that the water content is not going to be as intense. You want the top few inches to get almost dry before you water again. So correct. It only checks the first few inches because that's where you want the dry to happen before you water again.
Yeah. All right. Someone other than Janice. That's the name on it.
I changed it because when they signed in, it said my name.
Oh, okay. Since we had to wait to plant our citrus tree, how much should we water the new tree compared to the mature trees? Deep water both of them. You water them the same way. I know it sounds funny, but I grew fruit trees in Phoenix for 47 years. Planted my first fruit trees in Phoenix at the Weldon House at 28th Street and Indian School in 1975. Deep water once a month in the winter, twice a month in the summer, and follow the rest of my watering methodology. All
Janet
right.
says that she did not mess with the pipes, the mulberry. Yeah, she's going to take it down. I'm guessing it must be a male mulberry, not a female mulberry, because she's saying it bothers her asthma. It's a
Hmm.
hard decision because the mulberry is over 45 years old. Um, And it's just a really big one that has lots of shade on the western side of the yard. Oh,
Yeah.
heartbreaking. Janet, if it is not a male, if it's not producing flowers, then it might not be what's triggering your asthma. So don't cut it down until you know for sure it is actually the right one.
Yeah, if it's making fruit, it's a female mulberry.
And it's
Male
not
mulberries
asthma.
make, right, male mulberries make flowers and
Mature.
pollen.
Yeah.
Female ones make berries. So,
Yeah. Okay. So,
oh, here's a good one. Barry wants to know, what is the revision date on the nutrition schedule? He says, I have 4
421.
of 21.
I'll go look that up. I'll have that answer.
All right. Bruce says, in the winter schedule, does foliar mean 5 mil essence, 15 mil sol per 1 gallon tree, per 1 gallon of water? So you're going to put 1 gallon of water in
What's
the pump sprayer, Bruce, and you're going to put 5 milliliters. That's like 1 capful of essence and 3 capfuls of sol.
So yeah, the 1 gallon is not per tree. 1 gallon, you can take probably 5 trees or more, depending on the size of the trees. I can do 1 gallon in my, or I can do 2 gallons. And depending on the time of the year and how many leaves I have on my plants, I can get almost my entire yard when the trees are small, when the leaves are, when I have a very bushy trees, I might have to do it twice. I hope that answers your question.
D says, I planted one of your lemon trees in September. My leaves are turning yellow. Too much water? That's a good question. Could
And
be too much water, could be not enough water, could be too much sun. What I want you to do, D, is snap a picture standing 8 feet back and email it to fruittree@urbanfarm.org. Or you just, any of the emails you get come from me. So if you just reply to them, but I need more information, D. All right. Oh, Sid's in the house. Hey, Sid. Um, I'm going to use EchoWit Wi-Fi moisture sensors. How deep should they be placed and how far from the trunk? Good question. How far from the trunk? I would go um, a foot to 18 inches from the trunk.
well, it depends how
And
old the trunk is.
it depends. These are all new trees.
Okay.
Sid's a new planter. On the depth, oh my gosh. You know what? I'm going to change that. I would put the moisture meter in the 2 foot by 2 foot by 1 foot hole. That's where I would put the sensor, and I'd probably put it 2 or 3 inches under the woody mulch. Not the woody mulch, I'm sorry, under the planting soil. Hope that helps. All right,
The last version of the nutrition schedule was 2021.
all right, cool.
I
Man,
like them.
wow, that's amazing that it's been 4 years since you put that out. Good job.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, no, that's not correct. Updated June 2022 with the minor changes from the 2021 version.
Yeah. Anonymous says, I lost a lemon tree this year. Watching this, everything was wrong. I don't know how I lived so long as I did, how it lived so long as it did.
It's a
Can I
different
replant
time.
in the same spot? Probably. What I want you to do, anonymous attendee, is send me an email. Stand back 10 feet from where the tree was planted, snap a picture, and say, should I plant it here? And then they say, if yes, is there anything I need to do outside of what you presented here? Well, this is planting, watering, and fertilizing. Um, this covers most of it.
This does. The only thing that I would say, Anonymous, is take a look and see if there are grubs in the soil that are eating what was left over of the roots, because grubs are going to show up when the roots are decaying. And if there are, then I would say dig those out a little bit and replenish with fresh soil. Because if you have a healthy plant, the grubs won't be eating on it.
Yeah. Bruce, I haven't seen your photograph yet. I noticed that it came in. Bruce is in Australia. Thanks for jumping in here. I will respond in the morning. That would be your tomorrow night or something like that. I will respond in the morning to this question. He says, is my lemon tree worth saving or should he replace it next autumn? There you go.
Janet
See,
says she,
hold on. See, I even help people in Australia.
I love
I
it.
love this.
Janet says I messed that tree fertilizer up. I've been doing the recipe per tree. Is she talking the which recipe? We've had a couple. And should I do anything to counteract that? Probably don't need to because we use organic and organic is not going to
Yeah.
be a problem. If you are talking about the secret sauce or the one, oh, if you were talking about foliar and doing a whole gallon on a foliar per tree,
Oh.
no, you're fine. It's organic. The trees are probably just going to kind of be a little bit
A
like,
whole,
whoa, what are you
well,
thinking?
hold on. A whole gallon of water with like 4 ounces of, yeah, no, that's no problem.
Exactly.
That is no problem.
I mean, your
Um,
trees are just kind of going, woohoo, that was a nice fresh bath. Um,
yeah,
no,
they'll actually probably love it, especially with the heat. Jean says, we have a 10-year-old lemon, been doing okay, but this year the leaves are a little yellow. Not surprising. If you're, Jean, if you're in Phoenix in the summer, that's not surprising at all. We were told to water it in the summer when the soil is wet down to 24 inches. Yes, 24 to 36 inches. Um, your meter looks like it only goes down to 6 to 10 inches. Should I check down to 24 inches? You can, hold on before you go there. I actually bought a soil moisture meter, Gene, that is 18 inches long. It's a higher end one. It was 60 or $70. So they're available out there to go deeper. Now go, Janice.
24 inches down is the checking about how much water got into the soil when you watered. So using a soil probe or a pole, a steel rod, that's how to make sure that the water you gave the soil got deep enough, which is what you do after you water. Before you water is to decide whether or not it's time to water or whether or not the soil is dry enough to water by using a moisture meter. And for that, you can do the 18-inch one, the expensive one that Greg was talking about, or you can just do the $10 one and go down about 6 inches.
Yeah.
Until you learn your soil, these are so wonderful of tools to have in your back pocket or in your toolbox to use.
Yeah. Amen to that.
So both questions valid. I mean, both ends of that question were valid.
Barry
Jonathan
wants,
says,
go ahead.
how should I adjust my feeding schedule for coastal New Jersey versus dry desert of Arizona, or should I? You gonna go for it?
Yeah.
Go
Um,
for it.
you're probably going to want to not do a Valentine's Day fertilizing on the granular. Because what you want to be granular feeding when the tree is actively growing. So I would guess in New Jersey, it's still going to be dormant in February. So what I would do is I would take those 4 dates and I would make them fertilize them during the growing season. The foliar feeding and drench feeding actually is done in the wintertime. And if you sign, Jonathan, if you sign up for root camp, which you can do, urbanfarm.org/root camp, that schedule is in there and you can follow it for the drenching and the foliar. Yes, Janice.
Pay attention. If you are in a place where your soil freezes, if your soil gets that cold, then you're going to want to adjust for that. Because if you're freezing, that's a whole different thing, and we're not going to be trying to teach for that because this is Arizona. We don't get frozen soil. It just doesn't happen. Not even in the high country, it seems like. But the freezing is going to be important on your foliar feeding. If you're freezing, don't do it.
Yeah, you want to feed when you want to foliar feed when it's what, like 75 degrees out?
The best is 70 to 75. So that's the best place to do your foliar feeding.
What about foliar feeding dormant trees that have lost all their leaves?
Oh, good point. Trees that have lost their leaves and are not frozen solid, you can spray with the foliar feed like a fall time or in the early spring before they've gotten their leaves is a beautiful time to foliar feed because the branches will soak it up. As long as you're not in a freeze time because that's could, break and become brittle on your branches. As long as you're not during a freeze, go ahead. The branches and the roots and the trunks will all soak it up. Marianne says, for those trees that seem stressed from this past hot summer, should I continue your protocol or is there anything extra to do? Are you talking about our foliar feeding? When it is super hot, when it is super cold, you do not want to do foliar feeding. When it is super hot, you can switch to the drench feeding because that will give them the nutrients without interrupting their breathing. And when it is super cold, you can do the drench feeding up until the point that the soil freezes because that just interrupts stuff. And everything's going to be going dormant at that point anyways. Just stick to basic watering. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Not when it's super hot, not when it's super cold.
Barry wants to know, can I purchase BioFlora granules before January tree sale in Glendale? Yep.
Yes, you
Ray
can.
has some at his house. Place an order in the cart. Say you want to pick it up in Glendale, and we will make that happen.
For those of you who have tried shopping on the cart before, we do have the location selection available. It used to be a penny, and we tried to just work that out elsewhere in the cart, but fixed that. Now you can pick your location as the nursery lot for all trees and plants, and soil. So the bags of soil and the bags of mulch, that is just at the nursery lot. But the Mesa and Glendale will offer the small products and the BioFlora and the large bag of azomite.
Cool. So Sid, thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, hi, Sid.
Sid says, do you use any specialized citrus fertilizer anytime during the year? You use the fertilizers that we've talked about tonight. And this is curious for me. What was that, Janice?
They're organic.
They're organic, yeah.
I mean, that's got a big difference out there.
This has always been curious for me. NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. I know, I can't even remember.
Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. NPK is potassium.
All right, cool. Fantastic. So Arizona's best citrus food their citrus food has a 1310-4. First of all, it's not organic. Secondly, 13 is nitrogen, and nitrogen makes leaves. And I've had people fertilizing with this citrus food, and they're getting these great looking green, lush looking trees and no fruit
Bingo.
because it's 13% nitrogen, 10% the middle one, and 4%
The final one.
the final one. And the final number is the one that makes fruit.
It is.
It's
It
the
is.
one that makes the fruit. And
A
it's
lot.
only 4% there. It drives me nuts why people would
Mhm.
use it. So Sid, hold on, Janice. Sid, no specialized citrus fertilizer. Use Bioflora. Go, Janice.
The best type of fertilizer, if you look out there on most of the articles, are a 10, 10, 10, or an 8, 8, 8, or something like that. Those are balanced fertilizers. The lower the numbers, 10 is probably about the max. The lower the number means the less a chemical. It's a organic balance and a slow feed. The slow feeding option is great for two things. One, it doesn't rush a bunch of chemicals into your tree, and two, it's going to be there for a while. Now, also some of the citrus fertilizers out there are going to have stuff like bone meal and blood meal and stuff like that, or the organic fertilizer like the super mix. The super mix has a bunch of other stuff in it besides just the NPK. The bioflora is just a real balanced organic fertilizer. When we are repeating ourselves with our comment about organic, it's because organic is so much better for your trees because it doesn't bring problems with it.
Yeah, normally what happens with non-organic fertilizers, like 13% nitrogen, is that it burns the microorganisms in the soil.
It does.
All right, we're going to wrap this up in 5 minutes because it's 9:10 here and I want some
So
dinner.
nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium.
Potassium, thank you. Yes, Bruce, same schedule for grapes and berries and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Bruce Diggles in Australia, what time is it in Australia? Janet wants to know. She says, Janet says, just to clarify, it's drench or foliar, not both?
No, drenching on a monthly basis or even bi-monthly, it brings you is when you use the heart liquid, and that is important for the bioorganisms in the soil. Foliar is better on the leaves, and that's when you use the soul and the essence or the soul and the noble gills. It's better on the tree leaves. That's the quickest, fastest, most efficient way to get it in. But if you can't foliar for time or because it's the temperature, then use those liquids in your drench. But you don't use your heart in the foliar because it's just too heavy. It's the organisms aren't going to be absorbed as well. It's for the soil.
Cool.
I hope that clarified it.
Bruce. Bruce says it's 1:15 p.m. in Australia.
Wow.
Tomorrow. It's 1:15
Tomorrow.
p.m. tomorrow. Let's see here. There was a Patricia. What are the deciduous trees, or what deciduous trees do you recommend for Phoenix Surprise? Guess what?
We got it list for
Anything
you.
in our shopping cart. And if you want to avoid the little bit harder ones, that avoid the ones that say E on them. Those are still experimental. All of the rest of them, I have proven over the past 50 years, and our team has been proving them over the past 25 years. So look in our shopping cart. They're climate appropriate. They're season appropriate. They're going to make fruit if you do what we tell you to do.
Yeah,
Great question.
what we are is we're the beginning spot to help people get comfortable with growing trees. Once you've created your microclimate and you've got a nice little food forest going and you want to expand into some different trees, you've got the experience and you've got the space and you probably possibly have the microclimate. But until you've got all three of those, we are your great starting spot.
Yeah. Karen says, can I put those things that go on the end of the hose and do my foliar spray with that? As long as you're
Yes.
talking a pump sprayer, yes, absolutely.
I've had one of those before, and they're basically just things that you can put either chemicals of granular or you can put liquid in there. Rinse it out, and yes, you can. Whether or not you have this speed dial, I haven't quite figured out the speed on those yet. Don't drop it. If you drop them on the ground, there's no warranty on them.
On
They don't
which?
last. the little handheld plastic sprayers that go on the end of your hose.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Okay.
the ones that you put the water in, and usually it's like that emmed grove thing.
Got
They
it.
sell those, but if you drop it, they break.
Janet, I think we covered everything, but if you have questions, please send me an email.
Greg loves calling you Janet.
Well, it's what it says there.
I know.
I love that. It's so cool. But I think we got everything for Janet. Again, if I missed something, let me know. Um, I'm just looking in the chat.
All right, so I'm on another call really quick. So I'm going to check it out for you guys. Have
All
a
right.
fabulous time. See you
Have fun.
next week, maybe.
Thanks, Janice. Oh, yeah,
Bye-bye.
you might see me next week. You guys are
Bye-bye.
doing class next week. All right, bye. All right, crew. I think we are at the end of our questions. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have coming up in maybe next week or the following week, we've got an introduction to permaculture coming up. And our trees start arriving next week. The potted trees will be arriving next week, not for pickup. We're starting to accumulate them. And we will be open probably starting the second weekend of January for the pop-up nursery. And I will likely be in Phoenix for the second half of January, so you can come and see me at the lot. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. And email me, greg@urbanfarm.org, with questions. This is what I do full time. I'm pseudo-retired and growing an elderberry orchard here in Asheville and flying back to Phoenix to do fruit trees. And so my job these days is talking with y'all, and I love doing it. So I'm here to help. Have a great one, and we will talk to you later.